Today I'm at another recommended park, Grand Ravines. This 187-acre park is named after the deep ravines that are a natural feature here. Believed to be the longest pedestrian suspension bridge in Michigan, the 275-foot suspension bridge traverses one of the ravines in the park. So let's go see what it has to offer. Here's one of the ravines, but what you see in the foreground is a posting, and I don't necessarily want that in my image. As much as I respect the signs, I don't care for them in my image. So I'm going to have to frame up the shot so that I don't have that in the image. But I also want to get the ravines and the expanse of it too. So think about framing up your shot and your composition and all the elements that are in the shot too. So just one little element that seems out of place can distract your viewers from the subject of interest that you're trying to capture and portray in your image. This quiet little area is ideal for taking photos because the sun is just breaking through in separate rays through the tree line and falling on the little creek bed and on the banks of it. But I'm not willing to walk on this area because it's off the path and I don't want to continue to add to the erosion that's already happening. So I'm going to move over a little bit and see if I can find a better vantage point to get the highlights on the water and on the bank. So right here will work for me, and I think that's going to work well. So consider your location and what you can do to help preserve it for other people as well. So I'm actually down in the ravines, and behind me is one of the, I guess, embankments. And I'd like to photograph that because it's part of the characteristics of the ravines. It shows the height of the embankment. So I need to capture both the height and show how it comes down to my level too, to show some depth. So think about placement. You're going to probably want to shoot wider to show the height of the hill and how far it comes down. So I'm at an overlook of the Grand River Greenway, and I want to take a picture to show what I'm seeing. In this regard, the sun is shining right at me, so I'm blocking it with the branches in the left, and then there's a little building down below to the right, but I don't like to have man-made structures in my images, so I'm going to slide a little bit to the right to block that with some more branches. In this composition, I want to talk about filling the frame. So I'm filling the frame with branches from the trees, so they're going to kind of encircle my whole composition. Because there aren't any clouds in the sky, I need to balance the block of emptiness in the top part of my composition. So by bringing the branches in, I add to the composition, I balance the composition a little bit better, and I also fill the frame. So think about that when you're photographing a subject of interest. Are there big open spaces in your image that are throwing the image off balance? Or are you filling the frame with content, which adds to a viewer's interest in your image? Talked a lot about photographing trails and pathways that are in the parks. And this one intrigues me because of the line of trees that border the path and overhang it on both sides. So you've got this canopy of branches and leaves that are almost blocking the light from the pathway, but in the distance, the trail opens up. So you can see that light shining at the very end of the trail. So I'm going to make the end of the trail as my focal point and use leading lines to direct the viewer down the path into the light at the end. So that light is almost a release or a relief from the nearly oppressive shadows and darkness that you're going through. So the image tells a story not only of the trail, but it also has a deeper meaning if you're willing to look for it. So in front of me is an area that's been reseeded with native grasses, because the area used to be grasslands. But if I take the picture from right here, even if I frame the shot with overhanging branches, to me it's not a very exciting picture, because you've got the flat horizon line of the grasslands and then you've got the trees behind it, and there's no clouds in the sky to add more interest. So I'm a little bored with this image. It doesn't intrigue me enough to keep looking at it. Now if I pan over to these two trees and use them to frame my shot, like I've done before, using them as bookends, that adds a little bit more interest. It fills the frame. You see the grasslands and the trees in the background. I'm using the branches that are overhanging to break up the expanse of the sky, and you've got some contrast with shadow and light play. So to me, this is a much more intriguing image, and it's going to hold the interest of the viewers a lot more than just plain flat lines with no depth to it. Sometimes the subject of interest is perfectly framed up for you. So right here are some grasses highlighted by the sun. I've talked about before that you may have to kneel down or lean down to take a picture. All I have to do with this one is point and focus at my subject of interest, and I've got a detail of the grasses. Everybody's familiar with the expression, a picture is worth 1,000 words. So if you see what's going on behind me, it's not attractive. You've got some dead limbs from a tree crisscrossing the image, and you've got farmland that's been plowed over, ready for planting, or maybe it's already been planted. But in the image, it's going to look like devastation to the land. And by showing these dead limbs in front of it, it becomes this mess of lines, and it's very impactful. So I'm not necessarily saying that land erosion is bad here. I'm just saying the content of my image is going to speak volumes about destruction of land and erosion. And by throwing in all these limbs, you get these chaotic lines crisscrossing the image, kind of crossing out the live trees that are across the field. That is an impact that an image can make. So again, you can tell a story with your image, not only of what you're seeing, but also conveying a deeper meaning to your image, depending on what content you're capturing and how you convey that in your image as well. When I first came across this fallen and decomposing chunk of a tree, it was totally cast in shadow. Now that I've followed the loop of a trail, I'm right back here again, and the sun is on it. You can see how the light is spilling across it, showing the weathered lines in the tree and highlighting some of the decomposing parts of it. But what's the story? Is it the smaller tree growing up next to it? Or the other little trees and plants growing next to it? Or is it the decomposing part of the tree? So here we're going to play around again with circling it and kneeling down and looking at it from all different angles before deciding on just the right angle and position. And the truth of the matter is, it's totally up to you what it is that you want to show off. Do you want to show off more of the chunk of a tree or the new growth? Or are both of them equal parts of your composition? And where did I find today's tom tree? Right by the parking lot and right by the road. So it's going to be kind of noisy as I'm talking, and the background isn't that exciting. So I'm just going to be taking details to show off the textures and the characteristics of this tree. And it's quite something. I saw it when I first pulled in, but of course it was all in shade like this part of it. But now it's in full sun. It's got great texture. It's still alive even though it looks like it could be dead. So you do the best that you can, circle around, take details. You don't have to shoot the entire tree. Just show some of the characteristics of it. The Grand Ravines Park is located in Jenison, part of Ottawa County Parks and Recreation. For more information, check out miottawa.org. Thanks for exploring with me. Thanks for watching my video. I hope you liked it and learned something new. If you did, consider subscribing to my channel and getting notified when a new video posts. And I hope to see you out on the trails.